What's going on, you guys? We have another edition of Everything Uncovered. I'm excited for my guest today. And you guys already know, prior to getting into it, man, we got to talk about what's coming up. So, football season is coming up, fellas. Make sure you guys are putting the work in. Make sure you guys are conditioning. All right. Hit us up. DB training goes on throughout the week. On Saturday's competition day. All right. Make sure we got film study. We break that stuff down. We go over chalk talks. Hit us up. Social media. All right. We also have our defensive back mentorship, whether you in person or you are virtual. All these things, you're able to get it in. So I'm excited for my guest, a former teammate. This is our first college coach we'll have on. This guy was actually my host at Middle Tennessee. I'm excited for this young man, young coach, up and coming coach. Hungry, I'm proud of him. He's even an author, wrote his own book. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Kenneth Gilstrap. My dog, what's going on?
No, dog.
How you doing, man?
Man, it's just working, dog.
Man, I was just sharing how you host me on my visit, man. People don't understand that.
Most definitely.
Man, it's good to have you on. No pleasure. Appreciate you taking the time.
Most definitely, dog. Man, I'm excited, man. I always love chopping it up with you, man. I feel like I ain't seen you in a minute.
I know, man. I know. Man, life has changed, man, from us being on that college campus. Now
Yeah.
we impacting these young men. We're both fathers, and we're gonna get into all of that, man. It's just great to have you on to see you, bro.
Most definitely.
So,
Hey,
man,
we live?
yeah, man, we live.
Okay.
You feel me? This is for my guys, my young guys. I like to put them on
Okay.
the game. So we're gonna share this with them, and we gonna get into it. I told them a little bit about your background as far as a coach now. I didn't say where. I'll let you share that. But
Yeah.
a young guy up and coming as far as gonna be around the game for a long time.
Yeah, man.
Already developing some young men already. But before we get into all that, man, I want to go back to how did this whole thing play out as far as coaching? Because I know you, and I know
Right.
you just wanted to coach.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to be like, I wanted to coach and now you're living your dream?
Man, honestly, God kind of knew what he was doing with me, man, because I got a crazy story. Like I always wanted to coach. Like I knew I was gonna coach. I knew I was gonna coach, be an agent or be like a GM or try to do something like that, depending on, where God led me. But man, it's a crazy story. So actually, my sophomore year, I didn't really play good. Came off like an ACL and kind of didn't really know how to even play the position, kind of. And I'll go into that spiel after this one. Then kind of really don't play the position. In my junior year, I kind of get rolling. Like I'm rolling. We had got a new DC. So I'm really learning how to play the position. I had somebody really push me. Coach Ellis was developing me and things of that nature. Man, I got going. I started learning, understanding the scheme and things of that nature. It slowed me down. I was slowing the game down. Man, like that moment, I felt like, man, I'm ready like to make plays. Bro, I broke my leg returning the kick against South Alabama. And the crazy thing is, like, I promise you, this I know God, this is all God, man. I'm leaving out the room. I forgot who my roommate was, but I left out the room late. And I was watching Michigan State play.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who they were playing, but one of the teams, they broke their leg on the field. And I was like, man, I walked out. I was like, I pray to God that don't happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, the second kickoff return of the game, the same thing happened. I broke my leg. And I heard a voice. I was like, coaching. I heard a voice in my ear. And I was like, man, that's crazy. I swear, like, I can't make it up. And then I go through the whole process. My senior year, I really couldn't even play full speed and still ended up playing pretty good, man. I got a shot with the Ravens. Performed really well in minicamp. Like, I know a lot of guys say that, like, man, I did this. But no, I really performed really well. And it just didn't click. Yeah. Like, and I seen, like, no matter what I did, like, it got to a point where I rehabbed my leg. I ran 4.28 for Canadian Scouts, like, jumped 42 inches. Like, I was in the best shape of my life. I was training myself, and I was coaching high school ball, but, like, nothing was working. I knew for a fact, man, like, God don't want me playing. He wants you on the other side of it. And the crazy part, story is, my dad called me. He's like, man, you still can train for track and stuff. Like, you can do track. Like, it's nothing for you. You never just focused on track, or you never just focused on football. You know, you can cut your weight down to get back fast. I was like 185. You know, most sprinters about 160, 175. He was like, we can get this done. Like, just lock in for a year or two. And I was like, all right, pops. I get in my car. All right, get in my car. I'm driving to Atlanta. Folks stop calling me. It was like, I got a job for you. You know, it ain't gonna pay much, but you go to school for free. You know how the GA stuff work. Meanwhile, I had already volunteered. I was just up there volunteering. I stayed around the program. Me and Coach Nix was really close. So it was just like, I was like, dang, I called my pops. My pops said, turn around. And like everybody thought my pops just made every decision for me. He was just stern in his opinion, but he never just said, hey, do this. He was like, hey, turn around. When I got that voice, like that was God speaking to my pops. Through my pops to me, and I was like, I just turned around. Bro. I stopped in Chattanooga, turned around. I'm talking about an hour and a half out with a car full of. I went to my girlfriend's house at the time. Said, look, so I'm back. And then everybody was like, what? You just was moving back to Atlanta? Like, I ain't looked back since. Because I stopped in Chattanooga, I prayed. I said, God, you know, my dream, I put a lot of work in, man. Since like a youngin', I've been around the game. So I'm like, I know I'm good enough to play, but if this is what you want me to do, that's what I'm going to do. And I ain't looked back since, man. I had a lot of ball left in me. I could have got in leagues. I could have kept playing, but like nothing clicked, bro. It was crazy.
No. I mean, shoot, you doing what you're doing, so that's the most important thing. And
oh yeah,
I want to transition, bro, because you being the first coach, college coach since all this NIL, and we've been talking to coaches and stuff like that. Since you've been coaching, you've been in the game, you know, very short as far as how your longevity, but of course you don't understand the game. But now from a coach's standpoint, how do you see the landscape of the coaching is changing and how the players' mindset because of the NIL?
I see a less motivated player to be great. I see more, it's a business now. And this is what people fail to realize about business that I'm learning. A great businessman, what do? They buy and sell business. So like people are kind of buying and selling their career for instance, like once those guys get that money, you see who their true colors. They really love the game. So it's less about the love of the game, man, with the money. And you see it in coaching. You see it with guys out there, you know, making so much money. They just like money, money, money. All right, what about the development of the young man? What's the core value of coaching? And what's the core value of playing? So I think that has changed. That's the biggest thing I have seen change. You'll see guys get recruited and their focus is, hey, what's up with NIL? Exactly. You know, like I look into that when recruits, like that's your first question to me. Like ask me that question. That don't bother me at all. Exactly. Like, NIL don't bother me. But if that's your first question, all right, I know where you are. I'm not saying you don't love the game, but I know what you're looking for. And in the space I'm in, I'm at a G5 school, so we're not about to get in a bidding war. Like, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like, I'm not doing that. So, you know, that's the biggest difference.
No, for sure. And you said some key things because you said it's a business now. And I felt like this when I was younger, but I didn't know how to really articulate it. Even when I was coming out, because I came from JUCO, I felt it was a business then. The only difference is we wasn't being compensated for it.
Right.
But at the same time, and me and JK talked about this because I had it on the platform as well, we independent contractors because at the same time, coaches, they want you for their program. And now at the same time, you need to understand, like it's who's going to do the best for me and not just paying wise, but development wise. And
so what you just said, like, that's what I don't see. Like, I don't see that. That's what I would like to see more of. Now, you got some kids that's above beyond, like their parents like raised them. Well, you got some kids, they in survival mode. They thinking about the money aspect instead of the development aspect. Yeah. That's what worries me, man. And then like the academic piece worried me. Like it would be a kid in a specific degree. And then they'll go transfer to a school for this amount of money. They ain't looking at the back end of their life. We're talking about it will be kid in like I'm talking about in construction management, like, but like law school, like, man, I'm just gonna go play football to get a general ed degree. It's like, bro, where's your development as a person? Like,
exactly.
Like that's what I'm worried about. That's the only thing that worried me, like the developmental piece.
Exactly. And to finish what I was saying, because you brought it up coaching wise, you got to be developed. I tell my guys, I don't care what kind of school you go to. If the guy is not developing the coaches, regardless what position it is, you don't need it. Because everybody at the end of the day has talent. If you're not getting better and you at the same place when a freshman who is developed, who you think gonna play?
Yeah.
That freshman gonna play. Now, like you said, the second part of it, that degree-wise, what are you gonna do? How are you developing as a young man down the line? Are you going to be able to be educated where now you can start business? And do you know how to do these things? So I think it's very important what you said, man. And these student athletes have to understand both spectrum. You got to understand the business of what you're getting into. At the same time, understand that this is for long-term development on the field and off the field as well.
Right. Most definitely.
So, man, it's crazy that you say that, you know, the players, you saying they feel obligated, more soft because they more about the money, not worried about it. You saying in their flight mode because, you know, most part, these kids, we come from not so good areas. You know, we really not educated, really don't understand what's going on. How do you see, as far as a coaching, like you said, certain coaches, I know they don't like talking about NIL. How do you think coaches, they start navigating towards the future, towards these things where it's common to have these conversations?
I think it's easier to have those conversations when you got the money. You know, it don't bother. I'm gonna be honest. Like I speak on NIL. It don't bother me. It don't bother me at all. I like it. It's beneficial to those kids. You think some of these kids, man, it may change their family dynamic by that money. I think it has to be some rules and bylaws behind it. But most coaches don't want to speak on it because everybody is scared to say how they really feel. I can speak how I really feel because I'm not just against it, you know. Yeah. I think it has to be some rules and regulations behind it. I think it has to be some bylaws that's beneficial to the student athlete in the long term. And I think it has to be some bylaws that evens the playing field for all universities. Exactly. And what I mean by that, like, of course, like if you're in the SEC, it's TV contractors up here. If you're in the Conference USA or you're in the Sun Belt, your TV contract is all the way down here. Now, at the end of the day, you still have to create a space where every team has the opportunity to compete at the highest level. And I think with the college football playoff format, I think that's kind of helping it. And I think, but I think sometimes, you know, guys don't get poached. Yeah. It's kind of like, put it like this. I just say if you was in NFC West, you know what I'm saying, NFC West, you can do this. In NFC South, you don't got those resources. Yeah. And it's no salary cap. Yeah. It's got to be some kind of even playing field as much as possible. Will it be? No, that's not humanly possible. It's not going to be fair, but it has to be some type of playing field where you can establish everybody the opportunity to be successful. And I think, you know, they're trying to do that with the college football playoff. Well, like in basketball, at the end of the day, if you win your conference, you can get in. Get in a tournament, you know, but it still has to be some kind of bylaws with the money. Because no salary cap, there's no free agency, it's not any space, like, you know, because I'm gonna say this, I agree, when a kid graduates from your university, he should be able to do whatever he wants. Exactly. And if a coach can up and leave, that's like if a kid come to UAB and play for me, he say, you coach, you the reason I left Los Angeles to come play for you, coach. Not I would have stayed on the West Coast. You know, and I just up and leave because I get a better opportunity. I feel like they should be granted those things, but it has to be some kind of rules and regulations to it. And they has to be based off of it can't be based off of money, you know. If not, you coaching professional athletes at that point. Exactly.
And now that's a very unique perspective, and I thank you for sharing that, man. So I want to go back, man, to where it all began, man. Tell us, bro, how was it growing up in Georgia, bro?
Man, so where I'm from, man. So I'm from the east side of Atlanta, so I'm from DeKalb County. Man, you could throw a rock and find anything. When I say anything, I'm talking about a rapper, a lawyer, a doctor, the dope boy. You can find anything. Like I tell people all the time, like my block where I'm from, man, my section is a gold mine. Yeah. Because I had the benefits. Like Terrell Owens stayed up the street from me. Around the corner, you may see a Section 8 house. You know what I'm saying? Around the corner, you may see a lawyer. On that same block corner, you may see the biggest drug dealer. I like it. It's a melting pot of people, and at one point it was one of the most affluent black neighborhoods for African Americans. Neighborhoods for African Americans. So like for me, man, like it was competitive in every nature, like how you dressed, how you carried yourself, how you played sports. Like I was the fastest in the country out of high school. It was a dude down like 15 minutes away, east side, trying to kill me. Yeah. Like, and I think that's why like the part of Atlanta I'm from, and like Atlanta, like it breeds excellence. Like, you know, Killer Mike just made a statement, like growing up in Atlanta, which, you know, growing up in LA for a black kid is gonna be different, because you're gonna have a million things to steer you the wrong way, but you're gonna have a million reasons to see the right way. You know what I'm saying? And you know that just growing up in LA, which it's not but a few cities that give you that growing up. So and I seen it growing up, man. It gave me a different type of competitiveness. It gave me a different type of motivation, man. So like that's why like I love where I'm from, man, because like it made me who I am. Like, and I see the difference. I see the difference, like with how guys carry themselves from different areas, or they might not know certain things, you know.
Yeah.
But man, yeah. I can tell you a million things about just where I'm from and how the benefits of it.
Nah, it's crazy you shared that, because, you know, I'm from, like you said, I'm from LA, Pasadena, and the environment really shapes you. And it wasn't until I got to arena football my rookie year, dudes was like, Ness, why are you like so angry and stuff? I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Bro, like you just like you walk around like you. I'm like, bro, this is my environment, just what I'm used to. And like, you don't even realize certain things. Like, and I realize how dudes, because we professional now, I realize how dudes is dressing, and I realize how I'm dressing. And it was just like, I'm really dressing like I'm still back home. Like,
yeah.
And I didn't even realize this.
Hey, that's the crazy. Like, bro, I look for that, and like it's crazy. Like, even like with me, like, you know me, I'm silly, I'm outspoken. Like, people like, bro, like, I'm like, man, where I'm from, bro, like, bro, you better have some thick skin, and you gotta walk in your shoes, because like it's you in a big melting pot full of people, and everybody want the same thing. Mm-hmm. So like either you gotta have energy any kind of way, that's angry, that's motivated. Like it's just that certain type of energy, man. So like I look for that when I'm recruiting certain type of kids, bro, because that's the little piece that push you through. Exactly. So like when it's hard, it's like it already been hard. Or when you looking across somebody just as good as you like, oh, because you already don't been in those arenas. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got the country town kids that's been the best kid their whole life, that are successful too. But I guarantee you see more of those guys that's why you see all LA and Chicago kids in the NBA. That's why you see all the Georgia kids in the NFL, because we're just being honest, bro, like you just been in those arenas your whole life.
You've been having to compete for everything.
Yeah, man. But you're right though. Like real, you see a big difference, especially in college. Like in college, man, I remember when I got the MT, everybody was like, bro, don't never shut up. Like, I'm like, bro, what you mean? You gotta have some energy. Like, what you talking about, dog? Yeah, man.
Man, and shoot, you talk about a little bit of high school. So being a two-sport athlete, because I love to get the perspective of everybody's recruiting process and how it was for them growing up. You know, you played sports. You mentioned you played baseball, a little bit of baseball. You played football, but track was your main sport. And we're going to get into that as well. People don't understand how Strap was on that track and field. Yeah. But what was that recruiting process for you when you was coming out of high school?
Man, so honestly, I started getting recruited young, like 10th grade. You know, deep down, if anybody knew, I wanted to go to Georgia Tech. Then had a change of staff, so that's why I wanted to go. But deep down, like I started getting recruited a little bit my 10th grade year, because I started as a 9th grader, and I had the track times young. So, but I stopped. I was small, so I was real small. So it was kind of like, we're gonna recruit them. So I kind of was like a mid-major guy. I didn't have many offers recruiting. I was probably the last batch of recruits. Me and you probably like 2011, 2012 was the last batch of kids that really got recruited their senior year. You know, you had the elite guys that was getting recruited, but you wouldn't see a school have 20 commitments in June or July. Like it was like you got your 5 or 6 guys. It was like loving basketball. Like how Monica went in her senior year looking like, I got to get me a spot at SC. Like exactly. I got to find a so like going into it, I had like 3 offers. I had 3 offers going in my senior year, but then track hit. So track you couldn't get recruited at the time. The rule then was July 1st. So I had a few SEC schools. Actually, what people don't know, I didn't run good my junior year in track. I ran terrible. So I was running the same times I was running as a freshman.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past this threshold. And then and honestly, it was just it wasn't a lack of focus. I just had a mental block. You know what I'm saying? Like I kept hurting my hamstring, or I was just getting a mental block, man. So I had Kentucky and South Carolina. Those were like two blue blood track programs. So, but I had to prove I wanted to play football, man. And then going into my senior year, I played really well. And middle allowed me to do two sports.
Yeah.
So I committed to middle. December, but I had, Kansas State, every kind of P5 school I had, it was far away. And just the respect for my mom and my dad, like my pops was like, just like I said, he really rarely tell me like, you not doing this. But like, he was like, man, you ain't going to Kansas State. Like, I had some of those schools, or like West Virginia reached out to me, but they didn't have a track program. And the crazy part is my first offer was UAB.
Really?
And I didn't consider them because they didn't have a track program. So I really wanted to do two sports, and Coach Stock guaranteed me that. And deep down, if anybody really know, I wanted to go to HBCU. So like that's what I wanted. I wanted, like, I was big on like just give you a nugget. Anybody know me? I really wanted to go to Jackson State or FAMU, and I ended up working at FAMU. So I wanted to go to HBCU and try to change the narrative before it became like a narrative. Like I was big in that because I'm from Atlanta, so like Atlanta is HBCU headquarters. So like the barbershop I grew up in, as much as they talking about Georgia and Georgia Tech, they'll be talking about TSU versus FAMU, or Jackson State versus TSU. They'll be talking about the Albany State game. So that was still cool to me, and I wanted to. And honestly, that was a comfort zone for me. Yeah. Like I probably had two Caucasian teachers my whole life.
Yeah,
all my teachers were black. All my mentors were like. I didn't grow up. I grew up in an all black area my whole life, and my dad had really. He said like he knew what I was. He's like, you gonna coach ball or play ball. He's like, you kind of need to see something different. And Coach Simmons, who's at FAMU now, did a phenomenal job of recruiting me, man. Like he could, like I'm telling you, like, the statute of limitations is up now, but Coach Simmons could come to my house and fall asleep, and not he be recruiting me. I'm talking my mom and dad, him and my dad would be sitting on the couch like he'll be asleep. Or he can come to my school because him and my head coach is so cool, because he like to kick it in the A, man. Like, he can just kick it. And like, I'd be like, hey, coach, what you doing here? I'm telling him, I ain't even signed a paper yet. He'd be like, man, I ain't here to see you, and walk out, because like he did a good job of recruiting me. And my pops, man, he didn't allow me to break that relationship with Coach Simmons and Coach Stock. Because my dad was a coach, man, so he knew how the game was. Like if somebody came late, he was like, you ain't going there. They don't got your best interest.
Nah, real talk. And I'm your parents was always there. I remember there being always at the game, always supporting you. And shout out to Coach Simmons, man. Coach Simmons is a dog. I love Coach Simmons, man.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, man, like that's crazy. Like everybody talking about recruiting, I'm like, man, it was different back then.
Yeah.
Like it was like you had offers, like no doubt, but like people still would play their senior year or go in their senior year. Like, man, I'll wait, because the period what these kids don't understand, like, and you know this, JUCOs and early enrollees was only people that signed in December.
Exactly.
We signed in February. But now you run into a situation, perfect example. Last year, I signed one of the corners I got. He had to go on a visit the Sunday after the state championship game on Saturday. That was the only day he could visit. So he went on a visit like Saturday and that Sunday for 2 days. He played Friday. He couldn't even enjoy the state championship game. He was on a visit. Then it was like, all right, you got to be in January. Exactly. So like the clock is like, I think the whole dynamic NCAA football has to change. Like the clock's messed up. So now you're looking at schools, you're forced to take guys early. And you're looking at these kids like, I'm going to sign early, coach. Like, I'm going to commit early because I got to have something before I go in my senior year, because y'all going to fill up in spots. Then if you got spots, you panicking, because, like, these high school coaches know programs are panicking. Like, I don't got nobody. They just take a transfer. Yeah. So, yeah.
Now, it's funny you said that, because that actually happened to me. And that's kind of how I got to Middle Tennessee. Coach Franklin, which I love Coach Franklin, he recruited me. I'm like, all right, cool. But I had Illinois. So we have
I remember that.
We had a dead period. So it's playoffs and we go to state championship in JUCO. I can't go on any visits. We have the championship game in December. I got 2 weeks to really make a decision on where I'm going to go. I only take 2 visits. I take Illinois. I took Middle Tennessee. I wasn't even going to go to Middle Tennessee. Illinois, we already knew. We already knew. But Coach Zook at the time, he told me, he said, Arnest, don't sign the papers. We don't know if we can get you in. I remember one day I was asleep. He called me. He said, sorry, we can't get you in. Hung up the phone. I talked to my DB coach. He's like, what you going to do? He said, you got these other schools. You transfer up there. You ain't going to know if you're going to like it or not, or you go to Middle Tennessee. I said, it's no brain. I'm going to Middle Tennessee at the end of the day.
Hey, man, I remember that, though. Hey, I'm going to be real. Like, that's a loophole. Like, I probably should have said, like, a lot of, like, at middle we use. Like, for example, it was Crooner Backer, bro. He had Nebraska. He had a lot of P5s. He had 1 week. His parents was old school. So if you told somebody going to do something, you're going to do it. He had 1 week left in December. And he didn't go to Nebraska. He went to, like, another school the week before that. We got him on campus. He never went to Nebraska. We got him. So, like, that's the little game you got to play now because of the recruiting space that you guys are in. You know, like, I think the clock has to change to benefit the kids, man. Because this is another issue. With a coach, you get hired, say a coach get fired the last week of December, and they got 2 weeks to fill their roster. You're kind of putting the first-year coaches at a disadvantage. Because now kids are signing in December, where when you get to February, you have no option but to sign transfers because all the good high school players have signed in December. And you can't blame those kids. So I think NCAA got to start getting some kind of, you know, this may hurt me, but they got to get some kind of consultant from coaches to create better spaces. So, you know, it's not about the coaches, it's about the kids.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, that's the issue.
Nah, you hit it on the head, man, for sure. And they definitely got to look into that. Real talk, man. So I wanna go back into track, bro, because like we said, people don't understand how fast you were, bro. And I'll let you hear. But I did look up some times in high school, and your outdoor, this is in high school, running a 10.31.
Yeah.
And the 200, ran a 29.8. And then you ran a 400, you ran a 49.35. So, and then in Cali, we don't really run indoor, but you got some indoor times as well. So you got 55 meters, you run a 6.46. Your 60, you run a 6.84. And then the 200 inside, you run a 21.82. Now, people don't realize this is blazing, all right? So people don't understand this. This is elite speed. So explain how track changed or did for you mentally, because I always say that was my first sport. I said that was the best sport my parents could put me in first, because mentally what you have to do as a person. How was that mentally track for you?
Man, I'm gonna be honest, like when I got to college, man, track gave me like, I had a confidence. Like, first of all, I could size somebody from a mental aspect. I can size an athlete up, his body function, how well he was, based off how I see him warm up. Yeah. Because I was around the game so much. So I could tell, like, it's like right now, I can go recruit a kid. I can tell by the way he do an A skip if he gonna be able to run fast. Now I can say he may be a kid that do a bad A skip and run fast, but I can tell you if he do a good one, I can tell you the power he gonna have. Like, I can judge a guy by that from a mental aspect. From a physical aspect, man, mental and physical aspect, it gave me confidence, bro. Like, so I ran track in some really large arenas and really against some really elite guys. So like me going to play one-on-ones in college was nothing to me because it was always me versus everybody else. And then it helped me from a training standpoint because I had like in track, like when you're elite, so you already know Randall Carroll. So like me and Randall Carroll at the age 14 or Marcus Wheaton, like I knew about those guys when I was 10 or 12. So like you don't see them until July. Till last week of July. So you got a paranoia your whole life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your whole time is like, you're already trying to beat the people in your hood. Cause if you made it out of my neighborhood, you was the fastest, you was the best in the country. So I'm trying to beat those guys, but you still gotta, once you establish yourself as the elite guy in your area, you got a paranoia in your head. Like, what are they doing in LA? What are they doing in Texas? You know what I'm saying? And it helped me from a football standpoint because like in the off season, you know, I would work and be like, hey, what are these other guys are doing? And it helped me, man, prepare. It had a sense of urgency to prepare and to always be in shape because you never know what you don't even know what, I seen how big the world was. I seen how big the athletic space was. You know, and I think some kids, they'll go into college, you know, they're going to college like, man, I'm the best. And they have that confidence and they get hit in the face because they never had the reality of how big the space is. And with track is like, to say you the fastest guy, Like you got to put a lot of work in. So it helped me, man. It helped me tremendously. And I agree with you. Like that, stepping on that track first helps you a lot.
Big time, because a lot of people don't understand it. First of all, it's practice.
Yeah.
Nobody like running.
Nah.
I mean, no, you don't be like, oh, I'm just out here. But you build some habits mentally, you get mentally tough. Like I gotta get through this. And then it's just you competing. Like,
Yep.
regardless if you're gonna win or not, of course you want to win. It's gonna be some days when you like, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And of course, running when you younger, growth spurts happen. People already lifting weights. So there's nothing.
Yep.
But once you get to high school, everybody for the most part, and then you got some special guys like you. I mean, for instance, ain't nobody running no 20 nothing yet until they really develop, and now they training.
Right.
So, but at some point in time, though, that mentality that you done build in track, you competing all the year round for football now. Because my only reason why I ran track, my dad told me we getting ready for football. That's the only reason why we did it. It wasn't for nothing else. But now you got these kids, they just want to do 7-on-7. They just
man.
They don't want to compete. And most of the guys out training, I'm like, get on the track. They nervous. I'm like, what you nervous for, man? I don't want to get embarrassed because it's a different animal.
That's the same energy you're gonna have going to college.
Exactly.
When you go in your first camp, like you're gonna have that same energy, like, man, or you know what I'm saying? You gotta have that confidence, because track is just like, so I love boxing. Anybody know me, like I watch boxing, like that might be the number one sport I watch besides football and basketball and probably, but like, bro, like it's like you're gonna have a day just like a track. You gonna have a day you go out there, you're gonna be sick, you're gonna be tired, you ain't gonna want to push through. And there's nobody, you can't lean on the safety to help you. You can't lean on the line. You gotta go out there and do it. Just like boxing, you're gonna go in that ring one day, you probably got hurt in camp. But you gotta find a way to get through. And then, like you said, it mentally gets you ready for like football. And like you said, another thing, these kids don't compete year round. So like they forgetting, like if you compete basketball, baseball, football year round, just in your little park, you're training your body and mind mentally to compete, man. Like just to go out there and give it your all.
Exactly, man. So you already shared why you chose MT, and everybody's experience is different. What was your initial thought though when you got on campus for you?
Man, so for me, man, I was just grateful, I had a chip on my shoulder, man, because I felt like, I feel like I feel like I should have been. I knew I was better than a lot of guys, but I was fortunate too, because I seen the other side of it. So like for me, my high school, man, me and my best friend Stephen Hill, who was the first guys to sign really truly football scholarships at the high school, like full ride scholarships. Me, him, and we had another guy. So one of my other good friends, he made it to the NFL and didn't even go to college.
Crazy story, y'all. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So like I seen that, or I seen like my dudes on the block, like they out here doing the wrong things. They could, if they locked in, they might not be as fashionable. They was just as good as football players as me. So me just getting out and not seeing that, man, I was grateful, but I had a chip on my shoulder, man. So when I got there, like I was locked in, and I'm gonna be real. When I got to MT, I was an elite recruit because I had the track times, and then my film was good, and it was like everybody kept on saying how we got this kid, how we got this kid, how we got this kid. So I felt like I didn't need to prove myself, because like every sports book, all those publications, they had me like as the top recruit and stuff like that. Because I ended up playing an All-American game in high school. I played in the OD All-American game, so that was like the third All-American game when I came out. Cam Newton and all those guys played in it, so it was like I played in that game and it balled out. So it was like me going to MT at the time was like, why is this kid going to Middle Tennessee? So I took pride in it, man. I took pride in the university, man. I took pride. I tried to buy in, man, because I wasn't thinking about nothing else, bro. I was just like, man, I'm gonna make Middle. Like at that time, I was trying to make Middle Tennessee, Boise State. That's all you could tell me. Like that's it. I was gonna be the one that pop it off, man. Our class was elite. We had a lot of NFL guys, man. Then like when you, Logue, and all y'all came in, it added value to it. Like one of my biggest things, I hate like y'all didn't get the experience like y'all senior year. Like really after that, we just took off, which we already knew what was gonna happen because we were young. We were young, man. But
sure did, man.
Yeah, man. So that was my biggest thing, man. I miss seeing that in kids, bro. Like some of these kids get to school now. They get to school and they like, man, man, I'm gonna ball out, I'm gonna leave. They talk about it with their parents, they talk about it with their coach. It's high school coaches tell me that, man, coach, this one is gonna transfer. Or they'll tell me, tell that guy you gonna take him with him when you go get another job. Like, man, nah, fall in love with the university, bro. Like, fall in love with the place that gave you opportunity, you know? And like, I respect life happens, you get better opportunities, but fall in love with the place that believed in you, that wanted you.
Nah,
You know,
that's real
so
talk. That is real talk for real. And man, you mentioned it. You played as a true freshman. A lot of people don't even get the opportunity, man.
yeah,
Oh, I mean, dynamic with the ball, able to. Manny Diaz was the defensive coordinator, so he's getting in, blitzing, making plays. You tore your ACL, which I've done as well. What was your mindset though during that recovery process for you?
man. Back to the first one we talked about, man. Like, I feel like God knew He was doing, bro. Bro. We had at that time, we had Marcus Udell leading the country in interceptions. We had Rod Isaac that went 5th round, and we had Alex Super, who probably one of the best 5'7" and under football players I ever been around. Played corner, you know. So we had an elite secondary at the time. We had J.K., Kevin Brown, old school type safety, and I was playing. Like, you know, man, when I popped my ACL, it was just like it was a shock, you know, because at that point, bro, I had been hurt, but it was like I never had been hurt where it had a threat to the way I played the game. You know, so I was in shock, bro, but you couldn't tell me at the time, like, I'm gonna come back faster. I'm gonna come back faster. I'm gonna come back faster. Like, that was just my whole mindset. I really didn't get down on myself at all, man. And I just attribute that how I was raised, where I came from, and just looking adversity in the eye, you know.
No,
But yeah, that was hard, man, because I finally, like, honestly, in high school, I probably didn't get going in high school to my senior year, you know. No disrespect to anybody that coached, but I was tremendously underdeveloped. Tremendously. Like, I didn't coach. When I got to college, like, all I knew how to do was guard a guy. I didn't know cutoff step. I didn't know none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And the worst thing that happened to me, I got there and didn't know it, and I ain't give up a pass for 2 weeks. So so, man, I was in shock, bro, because if I honestly, I know if I didn't get hurt, ain't no telling how good I would have kept being. But it kind of it shut me down. It shut me down, man, from a development standpoint.
no, that I think that's key, and I think too as well because a lot of people once you take away their first love, which is football, whatever sport it
Yeah,
is, now you like that's what you identify yourself with. So now you're whatever you identify with is taken away. It's like, what do I do? And some
yeah,
people they can't like they
yeah. I'll be honest. It helped me it helped me grow as a man more than anything. Because at the time, like, just being honest, I'll be brutally honest. At the time, like, I wasn't feeling myself. I wasn't feeling myself arrogant or nothing, but I had the world in my palms. You talking about, you looking at me like, as a senior, I was the fastest in the country. It was me and Randall Carroll and another guy in Jacksonville. I was the fastest in the country at the time. I came into college. I was playing. Let's be honest. Like, I was hanging out with the cutest chicks at schools. I'm living. Like, it's just like I wrote it in my mind. Like, I'm living. So, like, when I got hurt, bro, like, I was by myself. Like, literally. Because my teammates with my roommates, they were going to games, they was partying, having a good time. I was by myself, and it helped me mentally because I seen the world for what it was. I seen how people really cared about you in certain spaces. Or I seen like it made me just take my mind off ball and get into other spaces in my head, man. It helped me though. It was more beneficial to me as a man more than an athlete.
Now that's real talk, and I thank you for sharing that because a lot of people need to hear that. Like injury is gonna slow you down. It's a reason why you got him.
Yeah.
You play this game, but I think it's very important the perspective of how you look at the injury. Like you can pout about it, you can cry about it. That's not gonna change anything. Either you're gonna work or you're gonna develop mentally and physically as the person rather than just this athlete. And I think that's very key that you shared that, bro. Man, very key. Now I want to get into playing because you shared, man, playing defense, you really didn't understand, underdeveloped as a youngster. But you end up playing nickel and corner. Now, we know it's completely different.
Yeah.
Please share how it is different because people don't understand.
Man, the game happened faster in that slot. And depending on the scheme you're in, you gotta know so much more. Like corner can be dummy proof at times. It's harder on you from a physical standpoint, but like in that slot, man, you gotta know the run fits, you gotta know the pass fits, you gotta know where your help is. You have to know your leverage. Like all that can happen in one play.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And you got to know the checks versus motion. So it's harder on you mentally, man. It can happen. So the game happen. It can happen really fast. So nickel, you got to be really smart, and you got to be able to play post snap, not just pre snap. What I mean by that, when your key moves, you got to be able to move your eyes to the next key and not panic. Yeah, man, that nickel is different. And then from a cover standpoint, it's harder, especially when you're playing true man, because one step can end up being a catch because the quarterback's throwing angle is easier. Like he's not throwing it wide, So yeah, man, that's a huge difference, man. And honestly, like I look in recruiting, I look for those guys that can play multiple positions. I will rarely sign a guy that can just sit and do one thing. No. He has to be able to do something else because the game's changed. Like even from when we played, the game's changed to it's positionless now. So you got to be able to play matchup football.
No, for sure. I mean, you got these RPOs, you got these quarterback draws. You adding and taking away defenders. I mean, blockers, but now you bringing it's totally changing. I love it.
Totally different.
And I was actually just having this conversation. We was talking about which position is harder. I was like, nickel is the hardest, but at the same time, if that safety plays in a nickel, yes. But if you playing just free safety, it's easy because you get to relax.
Yeah.
As a man.
Yeah.
But if you're that down guy, that nickel safety, you gotta be a dog because you're essentially a backer, safety, corner, all in one. Like
those guys are hard to find. I think those guys have to be developed more than anything. And that's hard to find. Like, that is hard. It's hard to find a guy to play man in the boundary on the guy, middle field, fit the B gap. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're looking for the 205-pound twitchy guy when there's like, that kid got to come to you 185 and develop into that. Right. And most of the time, traditionally, those are your corners that just outgrow the position and have the twitch. Like, it's hard to get that guy out of high school to walk in there and do that. Especially, like, if you're not at the elite schools, it's hard to find that guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, man, I want to transition away a little bit from football, and I want to talk about this book that you got, bro.
Yeah.
You're an author. You wrote your own book. What inspired you? What inspired you to write this book, man?
Man, to be honest, man, like I always been into arts, into stories. I always been into that, man. Like if anybody know me, like football, if I walked away from the game, you ask me whatever I want to do. I would want to be like a producer or into writing and into film and stuff like that. So I always wanted to do that. Like so I always wanted to like create TV shows or be creative. Like I love that stuff like that. So honestly, growing up, bro, I like reading, but I didn't have nothing I could read. So like my mom would always be like, when I grew up, your pops probably read the newspaper. We going straight to the sports section, I didn't understand about finance, economics, and stuff like that. I didn't understand those things. And I understand we didn't have like our stories, like tell my story, like tell a story about like how I grew up so I can relate to. I wasn't able to go to the library and see those stories as often as I wanted to, man. So I wanted when I was in 7th grade, my teacher, Miss Butler, man, who was in 7th grade, me, William Pratchett, we all in the same class, man. So we read this story called Forest by Fire. And I said, man, when I get opportunity, I'm gonna write a book like this, man. And I'm gonna tell a story that a teacher could read to kids. So that stayed with me. I was in Arkansas at a Division II school. I had nothing to do. I was like, man, I'm just gonna start writing. Yeah. And actually, man, before I released it, I sat on it for like a year and a half. It was done. I was really insecure in that space. I honestly, I'm gonna be real. Like I didn't want it to block my blessings with coaching. I thought that, I thought the industry would look at me like I wasn't focused and things of nature. And I still feel like that sometimes. That's why you don't see me talk about it as much. I put it out there. So I got to get past that threshold. But man, I just wanted to write. I still write. I got some other projects I want to work on because I just want to create a space to tell stories and to motivate kids through reading. Like, Now it's just all like look at social media, and it's not. They don't see the ins and outs. So like, if you read that story, like you see the ins and outs of like the mental breakdown of what a kid could go through mentally. The main character trying to be an athlete or even trying to do the right thing in the neighborhood he grew up in. Because it's a fictional story. It's some things I've seen, been through, or some things I've wanted. But man, it's a space I like to go in. I want to continue to go in that space also because I think it gives my players the opportunity to see, all right, you can do something outside of football and still be focused on the game. You
Exactly.
know, so
I
that's
think
that.
that's key because, like we said, our identity is just not in this one thing, and
Yeah,
we have multiple talents and goals that we want to do, and I do understand what you mean by because the NFL looks at players like that, like, oh, he does this outside of football. We don't know if he really bought in.
right.
What does that have to do?
So I had coaches tell me that.
Yeah, well, like, what's that got?
What you writing a book for?
And it's crazy. It's crazy for people to, and we need to change that mindset. And I think the only how we do that if we show success that we doing on the field and outside. So man, definitely write your book, bro. We need it as young men and women to see it at the highest level and to be living your dream. Don't let them put restrictions on you. And I'm praying that you put out more. And I definitely applaud you because putting out information, especially stuff that you put out, the insecurity, you do got to be like, hey, I got to
Yeah.
swallow this and put it out there. So I salute you
Yeah,
completely.
I try to tell people the honest to God truth about it because one thing I hate to see, man, is when people like get in successful spaces and they just tell like the good part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. Like, tell like the ugly side of it. You know, tell the ugly side when you say, "Oh, you made it to the league." Nah, tell the story how you sitting there, you can barely walk, and you
Exactly.
say, I gotta find a way through and fight through it." And then, like, that's when learned how to fight through pain, and I was successful. You know, like tell the ugly side of it and the reason why it's good. Just don't show the glamorous side of stuff, man. I hate that. That's one thing I hate about social media, and I try not to be in those spaces, man. But like, show the ugly side of it. Or tell
Exactly.
people how you really feel, man. Like, because that's how these kids gonna learn. That's how they gonna learn.
And that's where we come in, man. Like you said, man, we stop looking at those picture perfect situations, which we know they're not, and understand and everybody be transparent. I say this all the time. People know me. If everybody's transparent on what they want, what they intend, I think the world will move much better. If you recruiting a kid, like, look, I see you playing here rather than I don't know what I'm gonna have, man, the kid can respect it regardless if
Yeah,
he don't agree with it or not. He at least gonna expect you now. But if you lie to a kid, yeah, we're gonna do this to it, a kid can no longer he has this false hope of this is what he's gonna do when you really do not have those true intentions for him. Rather, everything can be settled with just being transparent. But it also starts at home too, as with these parents as well with their own kids.
most
So
definitely.
it all goes hand in hand, man. So now I want to get back into coaching, bro. How does one make the transition from player to coach? Because you shared your story, but a lot of people they want to get into coaching after football. And your journey, it was unique because Coach Stock reached out back to you and like we got this opportunity. But how does one go back into getting into coaching right after playing?
Man, I think I was in a space where I kind of got spoiled because my pops was a coach and Coach Nix and Coach Ellis, like they seen that in me earlier and they like, so like my senior year, he would like make me do it like how we did Skelly during the summer. I did all the installs. So like it would be me and Logue doing the installs, you know? So like I got spoiled in that space. He taught me how to do little things, bro. But I think you gotta be okay with separating yourself from being a player. And the best thing happened for me is in that process, my senior year doing that, I kind of started separating myself from the standpoint of like, hey man, I'm moving in a certain type of way because I'm trying to get to the league. But then when I got in the coaching space, I kept that same, I held myself as a mature player. So when I did GA and become a student coach, those guys had a different type of respect for me because they didn't see me my senior year going out. I went out smoking and hanging out. Like I was with the boys, man. I hung out with everybody. I ain't discriminate. I wouldn't want to toot my nose up again. But they see me separate myself into a professional space before I even remove myself away from playing. So then when I got into that space, I had a kind of a small respect and I kept earning it because when I started GAing, I wasn't the GA that hung out with everybody. I wasn't the GA that was trying to be cool with them. I let them know, like, I was honest, I was real. You know, I was the guy like, hey man, let's get some work in. Let's do this. And they seen that. The coaches seen that and the players seen that. Because the hardest thing to do is to GA at the school you play for when you just got done, because you're looking at it like, you talking about the girls you hung out with, they still there. The dudes you hung out with, they still there. So you trying to impose yourself as a coach, as a leader to them. They might not have the same respect for you, but the best thing I did, dog, after I broke my leg, it made me think about life without football. And then I created a new version of myself where I started being like trying to be a man. And when I got in that coaching space, I kept that space. And I'm gonna be honest, it was hard because, you know, like it was easy. I was an elite player at the university, so like it was easy for me to go hang out with the chicks I was still in school with. And like so, but luckily I had a girlfriend. Shit, all I did was lock in. I went to work every day, focus on my studies, and I removed myself from it, man. I think the hardest thing for guys I see all the time, they still want to be cool. Like, it's okay to be cool. Like, being cool don't mean not being yourself. Be yourself. Like, they ain't saying change how you dress and all this stuff. You got to be professional, but you got to be able to remove yourself from the locker room. Your job is to be an ear to the locker room, not tell. But as soon as you see something go wrong, fix it. You got to be a leader, man. I think that's the hardest thing for people to do. And I'm gonna be real, it's the hardest thing for Black coaches to do too, because, you know, that besides football, that's our life. That locker room, those players you play with, that is your space away from any kind of pain you got, any kind of discrimination you against, but you still got to be able to remove yourself and be a professional, man. So, and I got an opportunity, Coach Ellis and them, they was hard on me, bro. Coach Nix was hard on me. And the difference from a lot of guys that they had, people didn't retain the information. Yeah. Like when Stock did something, they didn't retain the information. They're just like, man, Stock hating on me. And I think what I did, and I would tell the next guy to do, and I always tell the guy that come behind me, I don't tell those guys to do, man, hey, listen to him. Because at middle is different, bro. You're not at a traditional school where it's a coach there trying to get out. Like, you're there with a whole bunch of older guys that are really trying to develop you to be a coach, the right way, the longevity. Like, so they don't been through the getting fired. They don't been through the, I don't like this coach. They don't been through, you're not getting your way. They don't been through all of it. And they don't like, so Coach Tommy West, like, he don't set me down like, hey, Strap, talk to me in monotone voice, like, you need to do this, this, and this. You don't want to act like this. And like, man, so like, that's why every day I wake up and I walk in the UAB, bro, I try to pay respects to Middle and Stock and Coach Nix and all those guys that helped me develop as a coach, because, you know, they taught me how to be professional. And a lot of guys don't want to listen. They think you still can hang out, be cool, you know, not carry yourself a certain way. But people don't understand as a coach, it's your responsibility to be a model for those young men.
Nah, you hit it right on
the head. And you already know, in my room, I'm going to have straight hooligans. In the DB room. Like, you already know what time it is.
Hey, we are a reflection of our environment. So if you always be a coach, you're going to be a reflection of your coach, for real, straight up.
Most definitely. And bro, I ain't perfect by any means. Like, every man have his vices, but you got to have a responsibility, man. Because if you don't do it early, if you don't be professional, and you in a space where you were the coach that you play for, they ain't gonna see you. They gonna still see you as a kid till you fight past that threshold.
Exactly. And then, but even that player, let's say if he do go into the league, now it's kind of put dirt on your name, because it's like, who lets you act like this? Like, how you do all this? Like,
most definitely.
You feel me? So I do understand that, and what I got from the most part, separating yourself and making sure you being yourself, but at the same time, conducting yourself in a professional manner, which you are able to do your work and you're able to separate the friendship, the locker room. Look, it's a time and place for that, but now I'm locked in here, and we still able to do our thing. I love that, man, because, you know, I'm not gonna get into that space. But how I conduct myself, I do understand. Like, I can be joking with these people, but at the same time, I understand that kids are still looking at me on how I carry myself.
Right.
And most importantly, I see it as if it was my own kids. How would they see me? So I definitely understand that. And you share something of how it's hard, but, you know, not too many coaches understand this. what was something or what were some factors that you really didn't think of prior to really getting into coaching? Like you mentioned, there's certain things as far as, separating yourself, but was there other things as far as time, recruiting, all that? Was it stuff that you was like, I really didn't factor, had no idea this really what it took?
I think for me, man, it was I'm gonna give it to you blood raw, man. The politics, of the business. Like, I some of the guys you thought was you might admire and have respect for, they might not have been what you thought they were, And then some of the guys you may thought wasn't that, they might be totally different, man. I think that's the part of it that still is like, it's a business, bro. Any kind of business, any kind of anything conductive amongst a large amount of people is going to be political. I don't care what space you're in. I think that was hard for me. And I ain't even talking about nobody back, none of that. I'm not talking about how you get a job. I'm talking about you can perfect example, bro. You can be successful in a space and your life can change like that. And then or you can be the person that's successful in the space and never get the respect of your peers because somebody gets this bright cloud over them because they got another name attached to them, not because they're truly successful or not. You're not really looking at the body of work, man. That some people, it's a lot of great coaches out here that don't get the opportunity, that haven't got the opportunity or didn't get the opportunity before us because discrimination, the color of their skin, or it may be they didn't have this tag, or they may say the wrong thing on the interview, And I think that's the difference for me. Like sometimes it ain't about the body of work. It ain't about how many guys you got to the league, how many you truly develop. It might not be about that. And sometimes it may just be about who you know, or if they can hang with you, So I think that aspect was the biggest shocker to me, man. I knew it was like that, but I knew it like, and it don't bother me. I'm a big on adjusting. Like I think that's human nature. Like I said before, like if you got a large body of people in it trying to attain something, it's going to be some type of politics. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. It's just like that was the biggest shocker to me. I watched the coach be a DC at the school for like 13, 14 years and be successful. And then get let go after 1 year, like he don't know what he's doing. And you're not looking at all right, we're not looking at what really happened. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And unfortunately, like you said, in business, there is politics.
Yeah, and I think it's not the coaches, it's the people outside. It's the people outside. So you got to find a way to maneuver that, because at the same time, I hear a lot of people say, man, it's these administrators and doing. I'm like, bro, it's give and take to everything. You can't complain about these people because these are the same people donating millions of dollars to your program to cover your salary. So every good thing comes with some type of another benefit. So you got to have respect for those people too. Like I got much respect for those administrators making those decisions, but we just got to find a way to work better to benefit the kid, man. I think that's the big thing.
And I like Fred Taylor. He said, "Play the game as it's played."
Yeah.
And just understand the business. When it comes with it. Understand it. Understand how to maneuver through it, and still be yourself. And that's the main thing that I get it from all the time. And I was going to ask this, but you already shared how that was coaching at your alma mater, a place you played for, and then coaching there. So I wanted to get into the next question because Coach Stock and those guys, they definitely showed you love, and I know it was hard for you to transition to leave out there and to go somewhere else. But now that you're coaching at UAB, what do you look for in your corners and athletes? What are you looking for that really catch your eyes and you like, okay, I gotta have this guy?
Man, first thing, man, we talk about I look inside out of the kid. Like I tell guys all the time, if you don't want to go to the league, if you don't want to graduate, you ain't the kid for me. Like I want guys that want to eat, man. That's trying to I want just trying to go get rich, man, trying to change somebody's life, man. But when you step on that field, so that's the first thing I look for from inside out, man. Then the next thing is, I always use the term of real estate. I'm looking for a guy who can create real estate or take real estate away. So if the guy that can maximize the amount of real estate he can cover. So the smaller a guy is, I want to be elite athlete. The better athlete I want to be. You know, I look for length. I'm different from middle with recruiting because at middle, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. You're gonna laugh when I say this. At middle, we had a formula. Coach Ellis had a formula, bro. Like he had a formula and it worked. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And when he left, we got away from it. Then I was like, man, we got to get back to this formula. We had a formula like when Ellis was like, I'm going to get length. Like after we left, he was like, I'm going to get length. I'm gonna sign a JUCO guy and a high school guy. That's what happened most time. And I'm always gonna have guys. He was like, I'll never will not have corners. And he had a run, bro. He had a stupid run. So like, but we had a formula. So perfect example. When Alex Super left, who they try to go get? Arnaz Eichner, because Ike's supposed to be sued. You know what I'm saying? And we had this formula, and then that formula stopped working, and then Ellis went to his formula, and he had his formula, and it worked. So like, I kind of hit a growing pain that first year I got there. Then I got the formula back right what it was. Where now at UAB, when I'm finding myself now from building a DB room, I look at it like an art piece. I'm trying to find all these pieces so we never have matchup issues. So like, I'm not just going out and signing length. I'm not just going out and signing speed. I'm trying to find every type of piece to piece together on the back end. So like, for instance, like I hate seeing guys go out and get a room full of 6'1", 6'2" corners, and then they ask themselves why they can't cover Antonio Brown in the slot.
Exactly.
Well, coach, you got to get Antonio Brown cover Antonio Brown. It ain't but so many Pat P's that's going to be. It's probably like 10 guys in the greatest league in the world that can cover the slot at 6'1", 6'2" consistently. So you got to go. So I don't really do that, man. I try to go find different pieces, and like so for me, like I give you my blueprint. So I see 5 guys. So I got a corner, safety, strong safety, free safety, nickel. I have to at least have 3 levels of that. Wow. And then once I get 3 levels of that, I'm going to go get the best available at those positions that I see fit for the future. And those freshmen come in and creep into that, then they creep into that, and each season I evaluate that. So I got to have 3 nickels. I have to have 3 true corners. Like I have to have, I'm going to say that, I'm going to be real, like 7, like out of those 6 corners in that 3, you know, that I take, 4 of those guys have to be long guys because that's what you're going to see on the edge. You know, I have to have 3 guys that can play nickel. I have to have 3 guys that can be that strong safety that you're talking about, that can play match coverage, man coverage, and fit the box. You know, and that 3rd guy may be a kid that's 5'10", 185 that's going to develop into that thicker body. Then I got to have the free safety. So what I try to do, like out of that, I try to like, if I can find a 6'1" corner that can play free safety and corner, I just kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If I can find a 5'8" corner that's twitchy and can play nickel and corner, I just killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So now I found myself doing that. And then with those after I get fill those 3 spaces in my head with those 5 positions, those next 2 or 3 guys, I'm just going to go get the best football player I can find. So now I'm just signing football players instead of looking for these measurables and all that, man. So I'm big in this, making it like a big art piece and finding those pieces because I never want to run into a situation that I ran into 2 years ago when I couldn't cover a guy in the slot. I never want to run into that situation. Yeah. Or I got to be able to have somebody that can at least hold him for a few seconds because he twitchy enough. You know, I never want to run in those positions where I feel hopeless because I don't have that body type to cover that guy. Yeah. I'm just different now, man. I think when Scott and Coach Shafe's system, like he had a system that I loved, man. I learned a lot from him. But in this system, I'm kind of building at UAB. If the best guy in the slot, I want to be able to put that corner there and help him. Exactly. Or if it's the best guy is the tight end, I want to be able to put somebody that can cover him and help him. So I'm kind of trending towards more of the matchup professional football type deal. So those guys get to showcase everything they can do, man. I don't want my corners going to the league and can't pedal. Exactly. You know, I don't want that. Yeah. I don't want that because
you got me excited. You talking my language, boy.
Yeah, I know. But you know. Yeah, I just don't want that, man. So I try to like evolve into now this positionless approach to play matchup football.
Yeah, and man, I think it's very important because not only does it help you with recruiting, but now it's help with your development because by you doing this, you got to also present it to these players, which now helps them understand the game. Like I was very fortunate. I played safety, I played nickel, I played corner. And in one play, you can rotate all in one. And I had to understand it. So it just helped me develop mentally. Now I can literally be the quarterback on the field. And as I got older, I start understanding what other people were at, like linebackers, linemen, where a fit would be, where I would possibly have to be. And I never understood it when a coach would be like, you just got that man. You doing a kid a disservice, because at some point in time, he's going to develop to know what he has to do. And I run into it so often. And we always talk on the phone. It's like, this is why I do what I do. I'm here to develop these kids to reach their full potential and help them really understand this. And for you to share, because you're a young coach, it's some coaches who still don't even think like this. You be having a conversation with them, you be like, what? You know, like, and you coach it. And it's like, and it's so fresh air for you to have that understanding, because I'm excited for the kids that you're going out to recruit, because I understand they're going to be developed. I understand you're going to teach them in a way where now you just got this guy. No, we're going to teach you how, we're going to give you the tools and the resources, how to do this, and how we're going to be efficient. And just in case if anything needs to happen, I can move you outside so you can understand what we're doing there as well.
Right.
Man, so I definitely love it. So let me ask, do you have a boundary in the field corner yet, or you just play whatever?
Man, I want to do it, but it's hard now because offenses go so fast. We're when we played, people went fast, so we couldn't really do it. But you're gonna play at least 4 or 5 guys you can do both with, or you can just travel around with a guy. So I would do more of that more than So last year I started doing that more than just fielding boundary. So last year I had Corey Patterson who led the country in picks. He would want to follow the best guy. Yeah. So like I might say, all right, you go follow the best guy. But sometimes he wasn't the guy to follow the best guy. I might have a more sound guy in man coverage to follow. Like Teldrick Ross might need him to follow the best guy because he's not gonna mess up. He was like you, like bro was not like from 0 to 5 yards. He's gonna do everything like
exactly.
Like phase 1 of man coverage for him was like clockwork. Mm-hmm. Like you know what I'm saying. So I do more of that than fielding boundaries because guys go so fast. Yeah. And I was like, all right, if the receiver flip, you should be in shape just like him to be able to flip. So it's more following guy around than fielding boundaries. But sometimes, the game kind of slowing down from tempo as much, you can do it a little bit more. So
yeah. As far as how the game is changing, as far as RPOs and stuff like that, what have you found challenging just in the secondary? And it can be run, it can be a pass. What have you found that's been more difficult to cover now with these new schemes and how things are starting to transform on offense?
It's harder to just play true zone coverage because sometimes in true zone coverage versus certain formations, it creates run-pass conflict for the interior defender, so for the linebackers. Yeah. So I think now you got to reduce those run-pass conflicts as much as possible, and you have to be able to win the one-on-one battles. I think that's the hardest thing, man. So like these teams going formation, the boundary, cut the split of the X receiver, and then they letting this guy run anything in a route tree. That's hard, and you still getting the run action. I think that's hard, man, and that's the hardest thing right now, man. So you gotta be able to play man football and match football. You have to be able to play man football, man. But what it does is, when you say play man football, you're like, all right, get DBs on the field. Well, when they run passing it and they find a way to create extra gap and they bring that big tight end in there, you got to be able to thump. So I think just that's why I have tried to study what's going on and go to the positionless approach, having guys that can do multiple things.
Nah, for sure, man. It makes sense. And like you said, that RPO, man, that's killing it. I think we're going to adapt, but I was having this discussion. Offenses that keep, with any offense, we understand principles just like offensive coordinator understand the principle of the defense. The thing is with a defense, honestly, defenses haven't changed. Like defenses are still the same. Cover 3 is cover 3. Now you can change it up a certain way. Cover 2 is still cover 2. Offenses are starting to break rules now. You got guys who normally do drags, and now they're doing drag and ups. Yeah. So the defense, I believe we will catch on as a group collectively from linemen to backers and understand. But I think offense right now just has a little bit of traction just because we're starting to get out of these formations so much.
what should happen, well, I know they're not gonna do, they want defense to catch up, which I know they're not gonna do in college football. They gotta move the hashes in.
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
the formation and the boundary, that creates so much space for playmakers. Like,
So
you know what I'm saying?
so
Like
much.
they can go jet motion to the field, cut split. And you like, coach, we got to draw it out perfectly, but you're gonna ask a free safety to tackle, the best athlete, Reggie Bush in space. I can only imagine Bush in this right now. I can only imagine that, like, that space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can only imagine Michael Vick in zone read RPO football. Like,
Exactly.
and I think we're seeing it with Lamar Jackson. You're seeing it, but some of those guys were like different.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that's the hardest thing, man, is defending the space and winning the one-on-one battle when they create or I think just the run pass conflict, if you're trying to play true zone coverage, that's hard.
Yeah. And Bear, this is a good conversation because it's gonna be some coaches gonna watch this and they're gonna understand it, because there's a lot of coaches, and I love coaches who are hungry, high school, college, and whatnot. They are really looking for information. And honestly, you don't know where to go with coaches, especially with young coaches, man. So I definitely appreciate you sharing, your blueprint and what you guys are dealing with that, because I'm sure it's across the board. Everybody's going through it. Now, man, I got a question, because we're both fathers now, and you got a son, so your life has changed. What has changed for you? And then what have you figured out, or if you haven't yet, have you figured out to balance the work and being a father yet?
Man, that's one thing I struggle with to this right now, man. That's what I'm struggling with personally, is the balance aspect of it. Because it's like it's hard when they're young. So like my son was 4 and 5, like he can just sit up here all day.
Exactly.
But when they 2 and 1, they don't understand. They don't understand, all right, hey, look, I'm on a computer. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand. They don't understand even when they get older than that. So I still struggle with that balance aspect of it, man, because I think that's something I always will struggle with, because at the end of the day, you always want to be around your kids. And you don't want to feel like, man, I'm giving this job more than I'm giving my kids. But because at the same time, you're like, well, I'm doing this job for them. But they don't understand that. And it takes some time. Like, they might not understand that sometimes. So what I try to do, man, I try to like what I'm going to try to do that my dad did with me, incorporate me in everything, And I think sometimes people struggle with, for example, they want to go hang out as a coach and still do those things, and then miss your kids' activities, where like my pops was phenomenal, where like my pops hung out with his coaching buddies, but sometimes I'll be there. I may be the only 6-year-old there, or it may be times like my dad's players raised me sometimes. Like they may taught me about the birds and the bees. They may taught me some of those things that my dad could have taught me, or even furthermore, because I was around man more than anything. Because it do take a village, man. I think that helped me mature. They helped me mature in locker rooms. They helped me mature with older coaches because I was around men. And so that's what I try to do with my son. So I kind of had a blueprint with my pops. And I always would struggle with it, but I think I just got a strain, man. Like I remember my dad coaching 707 at Clemson with his high school team and driving to Savannah and watching me, then going back to 707 that day and like not missing a beat. So like now, that's why like right now, like I do the same thing. Like I can get out of practice at 8. I may drive to Nashville, see my son, or if he in Atlanta, drive. You can't make an excuse, man. And it ain't about me hanging out and being the cool coach no more. I just it's time to be pops, because they need you. And then when he get to the age, like when you're old enough, like, man, my son will be at everything. He already love ball, so he'll be here with me. Exactly. It'd be nothing for him to be here with me. So he gonna get raised in the locker room. So, knock on wood, man. I hate to say it, he already kind of got it in him, when it comes to the sports deal. Like he want to play and stuff. And if he don't want to play, I just let him sit in the office, play video games. It won't work. Yeah, so.
Nah, I think that's awesome, man. And I'm always training, and a dude, he always see me. He said, "Man, your son, he's your shadow." I said, "Man, I want kids to be with me everywhere I go. I would want them to be with me all day. Unfortunately, it can't be like that, but opportunities where they can be, they gonna be with me."
And you're doing right, man. I heard somebody say this the other day, man. It was like it was a dude, he was talking like in a barbershop. He was like Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, and it was somebody else. Like some of the greatest people in their specific places. He was talking about, he said a businessman name. He's like greatest people, they were guided there. You know what I'm saying? Because their parents kept them close or their parents pushed them in a certain space. And they're great because they got guidance.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, from a parent standpoint, that we have gotten to a space where it's like, oh, if you push your kid to do this, you trying to control their life. But it's like, no, I'm not trying to control their life. At the end of the day, they're going to have the power to do whatever they want to do. But I just want them to be successful the best way I know how to be, man. I think, but it's not even, if you just keep your kids around you, and I'm speaking from experience, you just keep your kids around you, it's a 75% chance if you love them right, and you treat them right, something's going to happen out of them being around you and seeing you operate in certain spaces. They might not go out and be a coach or play ball, but they may learn how to be a leader just by being around the locker room. Or they may like, bro, I'll be honest, like, it's so many things I didn't do in life because I see my dad's players do. And he'll come home and be like, man, this dumb such and such did this. And I'll be like, all right, I know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, that's just, I think that's what we're getting away from, man. Like, it take a village. Like, have your kid, like, everybody try to steer their kids away from this and this. You can't, man. Keep them with you.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Like, my son gonna see me cuss and fuss with my players, and I'm gonna tell him when I get in the car, hey, don't do that. You know? Because I have seen my dad go in on a kid, and I'll be like, man, that ain't the right thing to do. And it has helped me not do that to the next kid.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, oh, man, I can. Because I might been in the locker room, and they made me cussing my dad out, and I walk in, like, and I'll be like, what you mad for? And they tell me why, and I'll be like, dang. And it has evolved to help me coach, man. Like it might not help me be the best football player.
Yeah,
but
no,
help me be a better leader. Like, I think those experiences are priceless, man.
priceless.
Like, if I had a daughter, bro, she would be around me as much as possible. Now, it's gonna be sometimes she cannot be around a group full of men.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be some spaces like she's gonna help her be around. Like, she's gonna say, man, these dudes really ain't nothing, man. Like, I see how they talk about women, how they carry themselves. Like, those life experiences being around people, like we was talking about, it's the same as us running track, because you get a life experience to teach you how to adjust when adversity hits or when you're trying to help somebody.
Exactly. And shoot, I have a daughter, she 8, and I only get her for the summers. But
yeah,
I want her to be around me so much so she can see how I treat my wife, but at the same time, so she knows she has my mannerism. Like my daughter, and this is crazy. So my daughter got in track the last week, regionals. So top 8, had her in the 1, 200 and shot put. She never ran track a day in her life. I'm like, you want to go ahead and do it? I'll give her affirmations like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Don't worry about it. I just want her to finish. I said, I want you to be bold, confident. Let's finish. She making a shot put. She go to top 5. She didn't have no technique. She made top 5 in shot put. She got some technique now. She made it to Junior Olympics, which is on the 30th. On the 30th. And she's excited about it. But the thing is, she didn't care nothing about it though. I was like, Bailey, you want to do it? She's like, not really. I was like, if we do this though, you gonna finish. But I'm instilling in something in her, like,
yeah, it's deeper than
want to, but we gonna finish it. So I mean, she loves it. She like, I can't wait. I want to compete. And I'm excited to see her like that. But I know she wasn't getting that. So I just know, just me being around and her, she understands that. So that's why I always tell young guys, man, understand, be around your kids as much as possible. Because and my daughter, she pick up more what I do than what I say. She gonna follow me. Rather, if I say something or do something wrong, she gonna be quick. Like, Daddy, you wasn't supposed to say that. You wasn't supposed to do this. She watching me. I understand that, but make sure, man, you guys are around your kids best you can, and be that light. Be that light.
Definitely.
Man, it was a pleasure talking to you, bro. I got one last question. Really, it's on you, bro. What is something that you would like to share that's on your mind, rather to me, to just the kids that inspire, anything like that? The floor is yours.
Man, one thing I always tell people, like, if anybody asks me to talk, say anything, that I just tell people to find their purpose, man. Like, really lock in, bro, and just find your purpose. Because if you find your purpose in what you want, that's gonna change. Now, God gonna have His own plan, but if you find your purpose in what you want every day, man, every decision is gonna be based off of that. that's one thing that helped me evolve in decisions in situations where I made the right decision or situations where I was locked in. I found out what I wanted and I chased it. And I think you have peace with yourself when you wake up in the morning and know, all right, this is what I want to do today, or this is what I want to chase. I think that's really important for kids. The younger you are, to find that, and when you get into that adolescence age, because there's so many distractions now, man. There's so many distractions with the phone. There's so many distractions with social media and just your friends. That'll be the thing, man. Find that purpose and push every day to get it. And that purpose can end up changing. For example, you may wake up and say, I want to be the fastest man in the world. And then you go out there and, man, I like basketball today. All right, man, I want to be a lawyer. Man, I want to be a preacher. Man, I want to be, well, it could change every day. But at the end of the day, your decisions are going to be made based off of that. And finding those core values, man. We can't get away from just finding God, man. I think there are people getting away from. They letting the TV, and man, keep God first and find your purpose. Because if you do those things, man, you're going to be all right. That's what I would tell a young kid. That's what I would tell my younger self. And that's what I did to help me, man, not smoke, not go out and drink. Or if I do drink, I know to not drink so much where I can't control myself. Because I'm like, dang, I don't, like, perfect example in college, man, I ain't smoking. I don't want to fill a drug test for the coaches because I knew Coach Stock promised me if I handle my business, I'll be the coach. Yeah. I want to burn my bridge in that space, and I don't want to be on the news for the league.
Exactly.
So even without the God thing that I should be just saying I'm going to do right, if I just got purpose, I'm going to base my decisions off trying to be the best version of myself and chasing my goals, man, and write your goals down and chase them, bro. That's what I would tell anybody. That's what I would tell anybody. Like, I think that's the biggest benefit, man. That's the biggest thing that kids are getting away from. Y'all, you find more love into the flash instead of the grind. So that's one thing I would say.
Nah, man, I definitely appreciate you sharing that, man. Definitely blessed to have you on. Definitely, man, be chopping it up with you. Best of luck to you guys out there, bro.
I appreciate it, man.
Definitely got to take a visit out there to come check y'all out as well, bro.
Most definitely.
Definitely, man. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time. We'll be chopping it up, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, dog.
Always, man. I'll holler at you, bro.
Yes, sir.